Modern work is great. We're in comfortable, temperature-controlled offices instead of down a mine shaft. We get paid holidays, free snacks, pensions, and remote work. So why does it all feel so empty? This isn't simply about working with your hands versus tapping away at a keyboard. You can have your soul crushed in both camps. It's about a set of characteristics that make work meaningful. Creative autonomy, the unity of thinking and doing, and a clear definition of done. What does it mean to engage in a profession where there is no objective measure of a job well done? When a bricklayer builds a wall, it's either level or it's not. When an electrician wires up a light, it comes on or it doesn't. And you know a good haircut from a bad one. There are many more examples, but you see the trend. They all give instant feedback and have a definition of done. Today I sat on Zoom calls, sent a few emails, updated a spreadsheet. My company's product is selling well, stakeholders are managed, KPIs are being met. But is it my work that's making that happen? Seeing the output of your work matters. When you divorce your input from the end result, it can start to feel like your work is pointless. If you're a terrible electrician, you and your clients will quickly find out. If you're a terrible middle manager, you'll likely get promoted. If you're lucky, you'll get put on a performance plan. At least someone's giving you honest feedback. But maybe you're a great manager. If there's no feedback though, how do you know? That's when imposter syndrome sets in. If your goal is to simply manage, how do you know when you're done? You can see that if your work is abstract and purely digital in nature, these questions arise quite frequently. In the knowledge economy, most of the work is moving information from one place to another. It's communicating it in different ways and managing processes. It's not time or goal-bound. It can seem never-ending. But have physical labour roles fallen into the same trap? There's a world of difference between the person building a car in their garage and someone building a car on a production line. One is engaged in a craft, the other in a process. And it's Frederick Winslow Taylor who is largely responsible for this shift. He invented a field called scientific management. Its aim was to collect all of the specialist knowledge from skilled workers across the factory floor and centralise it in a management layer. To quote from his book, Shop Management, "All possible brain work should be removed from the shop and centred in the planning or laying out department. With the brain work captured, you can distill that knowledge into rules, laws and processes. With complex tasks broken down into simple processes, you don't need a craftsman, you need an unskilled worker at a fraction of the cost, or even better, a machine." Marx called this the alienation of labour. It's when we separate thinking from doing. A craftsman thinks about the best aerodynamics for a car and is able to shape the body panels to match the idea. The work is fulfilling. They are in control of the outcome and can see their inputs affect the outputs. The unskilled worker, on the other hand, doesn't have to think about the metal panel he stamps out. The thinking has already been done. The skill has been removed from the craftsman and it's been distilled into a machine. The worker just has to pull the lever. In business classes the world over, Henry Ford is celebrated for the creation of the assembly line, but they never mention that his entire workforce walked out when it was introduced. These factory workers were skilled coach builders. Ford took those skills and told them to spend 8 hours a day on a small, monotonous piece of that process. It's even quoted that the workforce hated the new system so much that in order to add 100 new workers, they had to hire over 900 and double wages just to keep them. You might have seen this play out in modern companies too. An agile, innovative business started by a small group of people slowly morphs into a lumbering behemoth, drowning in bureaucracy and process managers. The smart people leave because they are forced to operate within an environment that no longer focuses on the end result and instead on implementing hoops to jump through in order to get there. These new people aren't interested in the end product. Work is abstracted, broken down into component parts, and roles are filled based on those criteria, not by skilled professionals but by small caliber drones, tasked with carrying out the process, but with no perspective on the end result. Now, clearly we can't go back to making the majority of our goods by hand. We can't all become skilled craftsmen to offset the soul-crushing modern working culture. Demand for goods is too high and we don't want to pay that much for them. And we certainly don't want to wait that long for them either. Now these aren't good traits, but we're working with reality. So if you find yourself entering the workforce, or God forbid, are already in one of these mediocre drone-invested companies, what can you do? Most skilled professions that could be routinized or broken down into small processes have already been subjected to this. Craft professions have now been turned into hobbies because we don't want to pay anyone anywhere near a living wage to make things anymore. If you're just starting out, you might want to consider jobs in the physical space, trades where you'll have some autonomy. Look for variety in your day-to-day work, and tasks which are hard to routinize and can't be replaced by AI. If you're well into your career, shackled by a set of golden handcuffs, a mortgage, 3 ungrateful kids and a wife with a sheen addiction, you probably can't just quit and head back to plumber school, so what do? You could pivot within your sector, find smaller companies where you'll have more autonomy. Avoid huge companies. These will likely have already been overly structured. They'll be full of the kinds of bureaucracy that gets Kim Jong-un under that tight black collar. The aim is to seek out roles where you're free to think, and act on that thinking. Your working life should be more than just clocking in the hours. If you want to enjoy what you do, you need to see the output of your work, and to know that it has some meaningful impact, no matter how small that may be. Your contribution to society should be more than just pulling the lever.